All right, welcome, Kyla, to our podcast.
Hi.
Hi. That's how we start things.
Oh, sorry.
Welcome, Kyla, to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome for having you. Um, this is out of order as to what we were planning on doing for our next podcast, but your sister Kellen, who was about to come and do kind of like the next step after her story. So we've gone through. I know you've listened to the episode number 2
Yeah.
podcast, but we've gone through that day with Kellen, that really cool day back in February of 2021, and she was going to take us to the next step, and that is coming. But we haven't recorded that yet, but she's sick. So you're a bit of a stand-in today, but actually we wanted to get all 5 of you on podcast to kind of see what your experience has been a little bit with Mason Stars, and who you are and kind of how you fit in to the whole story. So before we jump into Mason Stars, let's give a little bit of background on you. So you are, how old are you?
22.
Thank you for reminding me. Okay, you're 22, and you are, Sean and I have 5 girls. You are
The third.
the
middle
third,
child.
the middle kid. But honestly, do you feel like you've been treated like the middle kid?
At points.
I'm like watching her.
But
We just had
also-
Christmas.
But I also definitely played the field. Between
you sure did.
what the older kids were doing and what the younger kids were doing.
Yeah,
to
you're an
see-
opportunist.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think that maybe this is a middle kid thing, and I don't know for sure. Maybe middle kids can weigh in on this. Are all middle kids opportunists, or just
Probably just me.
in all the middle kids in all the land?
Maybe not all of. Maybe not just me. But
Okay, wait. We have to explain what an opportunist, what that we mean. So, what you want to tell them, or do you want me to tell them as the perspective of your mother? Because you
Yeah, you
learned
could
this
do
very,
that.
very young. So what would happen is, Kyla's the middle kid of 5 kids. The older ones are 23 months. Kellen and Kiara are 23 months older than you. Kirsten, who we call Shorty, is 3 years younger than you, and Kendall is about 4.5 years younger than you, just about. So Kyla, the middle kid, would always either join the big kids in what they were doing if she thought that was more fun, or jump down and join the little kids if they were doing something that she thought was more interesting or fun, whatever, same jam. So she's an opportunist as a middle child. I think it's worked out well for you. You fit into both groups.
I also think that the age difference between the younger kids, I'm also, well, not kids, the younger girls, I'm also able to help in that way, because I mean, there's a significant age difference compared to the rest.
What do you mean?
Between Shorty and I.
Yeah, 3 years. It's the biggest gap
Yeah.
of our family. Yeah. So we had 5 kids in 6 years.
Yeah.
So you and Shorty is the biggest gap, the 3-year gap, the only 3-year gap.
Yeah.
The rest of them, I mean, Kellen and Kiara are twins. Then you came 22. Then she came 36. And then Kendall came 17 months later. Like, it just happened so fast.
Yeah.
So, which I think, maybe you can weigh in on this too. You have 4 siblings, but I don't ever feel like you've been out of stages. I feel like you're sort of, maybe when you're really young, obviously baby versus school age, they were, 6, 5, 6, I don't know. It all blurs together for me. When she was born. So obviously that's a stage difference. But as you've gotten older, you're in college now, but you're not the only one in college now. Shorty's also in college. So you've done things, but it's, for example, have you ever been in school without a sibling?
I was never.
You were
'Cause
never.
I think there might have been 1 year.
Yeah, but it might have been the COVID year. And I feel like the
And I wasn't
COVID year,
even
everybody
at
was just,
school.
you weren't at school. Everything was on Zoom. So I actually think you were supposed to be in school with Shorty. I don't think you did a year. There was a 3-year gap. I think you were a senior when she was a freshman.
The twins, I think, were
Well, they were
juniors.
2 years older than you. Yeah.
They were juniors when I was a freshman.
So, yeah.
So
So,
sophomore.
right. So my point is that you've never been with the way we did our age gap thing. We've never had a out of stage.
I guess that makes it totally different now that I'm at school by myself. It's my first time not having a sibling at the school
Yeah.
that I'm at also.
Yeah. So you're home right now for winter break, also known as Christmas break, I guess, from Judson.
Yeah.
But you only started going to Judson this last fall.
Yeah.
Because you stayed at home and went to school at MCC, got your associates, and then transferred into Judson for what are you studying?
Early childhood education.
With an emphasis in what grade do you want to teach?
Kindergarten.
Kindergarten. And actually, since you've been home, you've even had to go and do a week of, I guess, what do you call it? What would you call it? Student teaching, shadowing, helping?
Practicum. It's our practicums. We have 5 of them, and I've done 2 so far, and I will have another one that I do during the semester.
Oh, okay.
At school.
Yeah.
And so you have to have all of them for your like Illinois board certification stuff.
So this was just another one of those, and then you have to write a bunch of papers and do a whole bunch of stuff regarding that week.
Yeah.
Got it. So it was just interesting. So let's recap. So we've taken you from the middle kid. That was a big jump. We took you from birth to college just in one sentence. So in between there, what do you think of the 5 girls? What, if you were to say, I am, what are you, what is different about you than the rest of them?
I almost want to say motherly, but like Kellen is that too.
Yeah.
But I'm very like strict on like schedule and like what happens kind of thing.
Yeah,
like,
you
don't like change.
You don't deviate from what the plan is.
Yeah.
You like the plan.
Yeah.
You like to know the plan. You like to execute the plan. You like to stay on plan. You do not like things changing with the plan.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
I think it's also like the part of the reason why I went into teaching. Like there's a schedule for the day, and like although like each day might look different,
sure,
like it's pretty much the same schedule throughout the day.
So that's like,
I've just always done better like with a strict schedule.
So that's what, like, if you were to say, I am the Carrie that likes to stick with the plan.
And I think I'm probably also the quietest.
You think you're the quietest?
I think I'm the quietest.
I'm like thinking in my head.
I'm the quietest when out in public.
You're the quietest of the loud ones. Like you have to keep in mind, right?
Well, like all my other sisters probably wouldn't have a hard time going up to someone and being like, hey, whatever. Like, hi.
Hey, whatever.
What is
whatever?
So-and-so.
Okay.
But like me, I'm more guarded with like who gets to have that time and like space.
Why is that?
I don't really want to waste my time on people if they're not going to be like loyal towards me.
Interesting. You're more guarded.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying. You think, yeah, because I don't think that you're less kind than any of your sisters. That's not really what you're saying either.
No.
You're just saying that you're more guarded with letting people know personal stuff.
Not even like personal stuff. Like I'll share my narcolepsy stuff with anybody. Like that doesn't matter to me.
Sure.
But when it like comes to like me actually taking time to spend with people, what's the point if I'm not like receiving that same interaction in return?
And you don't know if you're going to get that same reaction, so you're kind of stranger shy.
Yeah.
You mentioned narcolepsy. It certainly felt like for part of our lives growing up that was a big part of our family.
Yeah.
Do you feel like it still is?
I feel like the more I've gotten older, like hearing my siblings' perspectives on it.
On your diagnosis?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that has been, I guess, like eye-opening in a way, just because like I was in it, but like I didn't realize like what else was going on because I was so busy being in it.
Let's take a step back real quick. You were diagnosed with narcolepsy in, do you remember?
Summer of 7th grade.
Yeah, when you're going into 7th grade.
Yeah.
We knew or suspected that you had narcolepsy for, I think, 2 years then at that point.
Yeah,
a year and a half,
grade.
18 months. We knew. What is narcolepsy?
Narcolepsy is a sleep disorder in which you don't have hypocretin in your brain to regulate getting deep sleep. And so therefore it's like you're up for 36 hours at a time unmedicated.
Yeah, so hypocretin is in your brain. It's what regulates your sleep cycle. And narcolepsy is an autoimmune that you got this autoimmune. You had a genetic predisposition. 20% of the population has a genetic predisposition towards narcolepsy. You, for whatever reason, triggered narcolepsy in your body. Your body attacked the hypocretin. Actually, hypocretin is the actual hormone, but it's in your hypothalamus that it's made.
Yeah.
I think. I'm pretty sure about most of these. It's been a minute since I've actually talked narcolepsy because I think you're pretty well managed. So, anyways, it attacks the hypothalamus. The hypothalamus stops making hypocretin. Hypocretin is the thing that your brain needs to be able to get deep sleep. So, without the hypocretin in your brain, you just do surface sleep.
Yeah.
Right? Unless you're medicated. And the surface sleep is like, I always tell people, it's like the annoying Sunday afternoon nap you take where you can still hear everything, but you can't, but you're asleep. But it's not
like
very,
you can't respond either.
and there's not very much restorative things happening at that moment. Like
Yeah.
your brain's not doing anything to recharge the battery.
Yeah.
So your brain naturally is like my brain if I were to stay up for 36 hours.
I think it's actually 72.
72,
Yeah.
3 days. Right,
Yeah.
3 days. If I were to stay up for 3 days, that's what your brain does without medication.
Yeah.
So imagine this is debilitating. Anybody who has been up for more than 24 hours understands how much your body's drive to sleep is so significant. And you had that unmedicated for 18 months before we started medicating you. And
Yeah.
your diagnosis was hard.
Yeah.
I remember it being hard. Do you remember it being hard? What did you feel like when you were?
I think that it was hard just because of how I saw it modeled
Yeah.
to me.
Yeah, you were scared.
And
Because,
so I was like, but I don't want to be that.
yeah.
But I also didn't know like what it was going to be exactly because I was 12 years old. Like,
Yeah.
I was basically told, like, you have this lifelong condition, but like, there's not a cure, like, per se. Like, there's not like, you can go get chemo or something, like, if you have cancer
Sure.
and have like it possibly go away.
Yeah.
It's like just something that's like stuck.
Yeah, it's chronic. It's
Yeah.
like chronic lifelong illness. And I think that we spent years trying to get to um the right medication. I think that's pretty common. But
Yeah.
we were ahead of the game because we knew what it was. Like I remember telling Dad that you have narcolepsy. I'm like, well, she has narcolepsy. And I remember that. Like I knew. And I knew that your sister had narcolepsy as well. I just think that it takes a long time to get to a place where management is almost makes it look invisible.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people with narcolepsy who are not managed well, and it's not invisible. You can see it. It's
Yeah.
everywhere. And you're very, I think now you're in college, obviously. You're maintaining a high GPA, and your life is, again, jumping back to the schedule thing. I think this is why you love schedule.
Yeah.
Because of your narcolepsy, because you have to take scheduled naps, right? And you know when your brain is saying you need nap.
Yeah. I think it's also like with my medication, like that's a schedule too.
Yeah,
Like I
everything
know
is
in order
regulated.
to wake up at a certain time, I need to take it by this time.
Right. So everything in your life, you could not just live in a whimsical way. Like everything has to be structured and
Yeah.
planned. Right. Do you like that? Do you wish?
I guess sometimes people at school, they're like, they think that I'm a little, I mean, structured for sure, but they're like, why, like, do you ever just like go with the flow? And I'm like, but I can't.
Yeah, that's hard for you.
Like, if I know I have a class at 8 and a class at 9 and a class at 10, I'm going to eat lunch and then I'm going to take a nap.
Yeah.
Because in order to be able to do any of the studying or do anything else for the rest of the day, I'm going to need that nap in order to get through.
Does that frustrate you, or is it just kind of how it is now?
I mean, sometimes I don't even go to my dorm. I'll just sleep in a chair and have my ID out because they know the security people.
The security people know.
They know my name.
Yeah.
And so, like, in case they're, like, trying to call an ambulance or something on
Sure.
me, they just know that it's me and I'm just taking a nap. Like, sometimes I'll even, like, write out a note. It looks like pigeon scratch at that point.
Because you're tired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, like, just so they know, like, hey, I'm good.
Yeah. Huh. You should just have one laminated.
I
Wear
should
it
just
around your
have,
neck
like, my
with a
own
string.
badge.
Like the string, wear it around your. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not really. I mean, you're grown, but maybe that would be. Maybe I should think. We're crafty. We could come up with something. I'm sure.
Like a sign I have in my backpack.
Yeah. All right. Let's jump ahead and talk a little bit about your experience with Kellen's attack day. Without, I call it attack. Sometimes I call it accidents. I don't like calling it accident. Sometimes Does
I
it feel
mean,
like accident to you, or does it feel
it wasn't on purpose. So in that
true?
sense, it was an accident, like by definition.
Yeah, you're right. I think I think I really struggle with that. The idea of is do we call it an accident? Do we call it an attack? Do we call what do we call it?
An experience.
All right, your sister's
It's not a great
experience.
experience, but
Yeah, I don't know. I think
it's
there's
definitely led to other experiences.
sure. Okay, for, I'm clearly working through something, but let's just talk about your day or your what are your feelings about what happened to your sister Kellen? Oh, episode 2 is where you would find the entire day of what happened if you're interested. And it's a long one, but
Are you saying like the day of or like what?
yeah, just like either the day of or what you remember from that or how you feel about it now.
Well, the day of, I remember mom like on the phone with Kellen.
Yeah, you remember me
Yeah,
actually. Mhm.
because I was getting ready for basketball practice
Mhm.
because it was COVID, and I decided I was gonna go play basketball because why not?
It was
Um,
something to do. It's like the only thing to do
yeah, and you were like able to like get in the weight room, and like there was no other way.
to do anything
Yeah,
physical at school because everything was shut down unless you joined basketball.
yeah,
Yeah, so we signed you up and Shorty.
yeah. And so I remember that, and then I remember you having to wake like yelling down for Kiara because she had just worked, I believe.
Yeah, she worked the night
And
before.
so she was sleeping,
Yep.
and she was like, "You have to take the girls to practice."
Mhm.
And so then she brought us there, but like the whole time at practice, like I wasn't doing practice. I was texting Kiara on my phone, like trying to figure out whatever I could.
Mhm.
Is like it kind of felt like I was almost like stuck in a way, like
You're
I couldn't do anything to help, but also like I felt like I needed to know what was going on,
yeah, this kind
so
of
like
ties
I
back.
could prepare myself
Oh.
for like how can I help her, how can I do anything.
Mhm.
And then she actually ended up sending us the photo.
The photo with the bandage on it or off it? Ooh,
I
sorry.
think she first sent us the one with it on it,
Mhm.
and I showed that to Shorty.
Because Shorty was with you.
Shorty was in the other gym, so I walked down.
Yeah.
And then while I was with Shorty, she sent the other photo, and I was like, I don't think I can look at it, but I was like, do you want to see it? Because it
To
was
Shorty.
Shorty.
You asked
Yeah.
Shorty. Mhm.
And she's like, yeah, I want to see it. And then like that happened. Shara came to pick us up early, I think, just because we both weren't doing basketball practice. Like our minds could not be there.
Mhm.
Just because like when something happens in the family, like we want to be there for whatever happens.
Yeah.
And so then we went home, and I just remember like I don't know when you sent the song,
Oh.
the Truth I'm Standing on one.
Mhm.
I just remember like that was playing like throughout the house
Mhm.
as we were finding out things. So
How do
that's
you,
like the day of.
and how do you feel about it now?
Half the time I forget,
Yeah.
just because when I look at her, like I don't see like her scars or anything. Like
When you look at her, do you still see identical with Kiara?
for sure.
Yeah.
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 I think it also helped that they had someone to look at for what her nose
Oh yeah,
looked like.
that was a really interesting thing when Kellen started going through surgeries. We were able to show them a picture of Kiara. Not that we couldn't have showed her a picture of Kellen, but Kiara, had an identical nose.
Yeah.
Like they could look at it, and like it was an interesting. Um, they probably never had this happen, where it's an identical twin who was injured, and yeah, it was an interesting thing because they could just literally feel and model that nose to be, what Kiara's was.
Yeah.
It's another interesting, weird thing that happened. So you don't think about it now?
Not really. Like when I'm like telling people about like Mason shards and stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
I do
Talk about
talk about it,
sure.
but like I almost focus on like what that brought us to do
Yeah,
rather than like focusing and dwelling on the actual experience, accident, whatever we're calling
yeah, whatever we're calling it.
it.
Definitely something for me to work through. So what did you feel? So we started Mason Jars like about well, a year ago and 15 months ago now. So that was like about 15 months into what her accident. Ooh, look at that accident, not attack. And 15 months. So you're kind of in the middle, smack dab in the middle. What did you think when I pitched the idea of Mason Jars?
I think I was probably the most hesitant,
Yo, for sure.
and I wasn't like personally. I didn't feel called at first to do anything
Mm-hmm.
because
It was going to be
it was gonna be what it was gonna be, and it didn't really feel like this was exactly what was supposed to happen because I think I was still mad about it.
about the word that I don't know what to say, like the
Yeah,
about the accident.
yeah,
You were mad about it.
yeah.
So you didn't want to do anything good from it? Or what? Give me more. I feel like
Um,
I don't understand
I
it.
guess I just couldn't see like the bright side of it,
Okay.
and because I was focused on her doing surgeries and like her wanting to have kids got pushed back, like all the negative.
So when I pitched the idea, I only pitched it as let's give something back. And then she was pregnant with Mason when we actually had the first meeting.
Yeah,
So it's sort of tricky that time in between.
yeah,
Felt like for me, like God was saying to me, you guys are going to do something here. I have something. Just stand still,
yeah,
right? Just hold on. And we had to get through the surgery side and the Mason side almost to get to a place where everything kind of came together in what felt like a very simple way.
yeah.
So when did you feel like you bought into the idea?
I think it was like when we first started like putting them together, like when I would like fold the click class and like when it was the smallest that it ever was because
You
we were
mean when
able
we were
to run
packing
it.
jars in our
Yeah,
house?
because we were able to still run it out of our house.
Yeah. And you
Um,
really owned the beginning process of labels and jars and putting
yeah,
together like when everything was coming in from Amazon. Remember?
yeah.
That's like when stuff started to come to the house
I
to
guess it felt more real then. Like it wasn't just like a
idea.
yeah.
Like we're doing this
And then like it was like hearing the stories from Kiara because she was dropping them off.
at Huntley, yeah, at the hospital.
Was it Huntley first?
Well, no, it wasn't Huntley first, but if you're talking to Kiara, her experiences
Yeah.
were probably
Like just like seeing
well,
all
Woods.
that
I mean, yeah,
rolling in.
yeah, sure. Like,
Like it was just like, wait, this is doing something.
uh, what is your favorite part about Mason Stars?
Um, I think it's just that we do it together.
Yeah, you're so like one of the things like if I were to tell you what I think about if I was to explain Kyla is the middle kid, what is unique about you? One of the things that's unique about you is that you really care about all five of you being together. Like that really matters to you. Not that the others don't want that. They all want that, but you make a point to do things to bring everyone together. In a way, you're the glue in the middle, grabbing everybody and pulling them in towards each other. You guys don't usually fight. It's not common, especially even more so over like the last year or two. Like I think actually maybe since we started packing jars together, you guys
Hmm.
don't fight. It's not really a thing. Do you have quips at each other? Yeah, but almost in the same way that Dad and I have quips at each other, but we really don't fight.
Yeah.
It's not really a thing. I don't like. I just don't
I
see you
think
guys
we've
doing
also
it.
realized that like it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the things like you took my shirt, like it really doesn't matter at the end of the day.
I mean, if that was the case, if we were talking shirts, then I should be real mad at Kendall all the time, right?
Yeah.
Kendall is the shirt stealer. But honestly, Dad should be the most mad at Kendall because she takes all of Dad's clothes. It's weird, but it's true. So, you bought into Mason Stars. What's your role at Mason Stars?
I'm the treasurer.
You're the treasurer. And I don't know if we've gone over this actually. Well, I think we have in episode 1. We talked a little bit about the people who actually the board for Mason Stars is only the sisters. So it's Kellen, Kiara, Kyla, Kirsten, and Kendall, Shorty. And your job as treasurer, you had absolutely no experience going in, so we immediately assigned you an advisor,
Yeah.
which we think is, I mean, I think it's going well. Your treasurer is not terribly challenging, but
I think it's sometimes difficult from afar.
because you're at school,
Yeah.
yeah, right.
To like be the treasurer.
Sure.
But like obviously when we decide to buy things, it's everyone taking a vote.
Yeah.
So like even if I'm not able to respond in a timely manner,
Yeah.
like majority rules for the advisors. So
Sure.
not the advisors, the board members.
Yeah. Right. Advisors don't vote.
But
But advisors can give an opinion, but they don't vote.
yeah.
Right. So you're the treasurer. You in charge of all the tax stuff and the donation stuff and that kind of thing. You get a lot of help with that. But eventually, I'm sure you will understand how to do that on your own. And so that's kind of the goal. On the advising end is for the advisors to come in and mentor you so that you're obviously you're in the role, but you're learning the role as well as you go. So I think you're doing a great job as treasurer. What about let's forecast, what would you like to see in the future for Macyn's Jars?
I think I would say more people packing that like have intellectual disabilities.
Okay.
Just because I feel like the structure of packing the jars
Mm-hmm.
is something that they're entirely capable of.
Sure.
And it's almost like they would know to like ask if they're in a hospital for it then too.
You'd like to
in
see,
the surrounding area.
yeah. Sometimes people with intellectual disabilities are a little bit older, so
Yeah.
our jars are generally for kids over the age of 3, and they might look at somebody like that as well, you're obviously not a kid. But we never put a limitation on who they give jars to, who the nurses or the staff gives jars to. In fact, I think there's been instances where an older gentleman was pulling at his IV, and I think he was on some sort of medication where couldn't understand, like, don't do that.
Yeah.
And so they got him a jar. So like our jars are perfect for people with intellectual disabilities or anybody who's sort of in a situation where having something in their hand would distract them from something else that's happening.
Yeah.
So that's interesting that you say that. We have had some groups who've shown some interest about packing jars with their group of residents, either residents or school age kids with intellectual disabilities.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think they would. Are you kidding? Like they would do a great job.
And I feel like because of like who we are as people.
Yeah, you mean like
our family, like
mm-hmm.
everyone involved.
Yeah,
that would also be a positive experience for them too.
For sure.
Whereas like maybe a different like
501c3, like a different
organization. Like a different nonprofit might not be as positive as an experience.
Yeah, it sort of depends on what they're doing.
Yeah.
Right? In our case, actually, I think what maybe kind of snowballing off that, I think that it's almost like an instant gratification in a way. Like when we do our jars, it's done and ready to go out the door when we pack jars at the table. So I think that you're right. I think that it's 100% like something that we should pursue. I think it's a great idea. Give me your 5-year plan. What are you going to be doing in 5 years?
Teaching.
You'll be done with school?
Yeah, I'll be done.
What does your life look like?
This is really stressful.
You want to give me a 2-year plan? 2 years might be easier.
2 year?
2 year, you're out of school. You're teaching.
You
got nervous. I can tell because you leaned into the mic with your head. You went, I
guess I'm not really thinking that far ahead.
Yeah, that's okay.
Just because I'm so like.
Can you give me a 2-year or a 5-year for Macyn Jars? What does that look like? Are we in this building?
No.
We're going to grow this building. Yeah.
I mean, we've kind of already outgrown this building.
We outgrew the house first from the days that you were packing jars at home, and now
we took over Dad's office completely.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to say it's still not taken over, but
other things.
And so then once we got here, like we were like, oh, this is a big space, but then we started like getting into a bunch of new places, and it's like, oh, this place is not so big anymore.
I think we knew that,
especially when like we get the shipments in and stuff.
Oh,
like it just takes over.
So like out in the front hall, there's 3,000 jars, right?
Yeah,
worth of supplies and jars, and our next shipment is 5,000 jars.
Yeah,
so like we already.
But it's not like we don't need this stuff. We do need this stuff.
Yeah, we're thankful that we have a place where we could store it if we need to. But yeah, we're gonna try to make this building work as long as we can, just because
it's nice because it's close to home.
We've done all the work in the building, and it's 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 relatively easy for people to find for the most part. But yeah, I mean we haven't been in here for a year yet.
That's crazy. Like it feels like we have.
I know. I was looking at some video of like the building when we first moved in and like the numbers on the wall
Yeah.
and like unbelievable. Just thinking about where we've gone. So 5 years from now, you don't think we're in? Does it look bigger than our family in 5 years to you?
I think that really would depend on like what the board members
Are doing?
yeah. Like
Yeah,
I will be teaching.
sure.
I don't see me giving up teaching.
Well, probably not because that's what you feel called to do. But
Yes.
yeah,
But I'm just saying like at some point somebody or some of us
yeah,
would probably have to dedicate more time than we have right now.
yeah. Because if we continue to grow,
Yeah.
right?
I do think we'll be in more of the US.
Sure. Like just continue to grow.
Yeah.
Um, Wrapping up here. Are you are you proud of yourself?
I guess it's like kind of hard to say like I'm proud of myself because like when I'm at school it doesn't really feel like I'm doing much.
Uh-huh.
But like when I'm here, I'm proud of myself.
Yeah. Are you proud of your sisters?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it easier to be proud of your sisters than proud of yourself?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it always will be.
If you had anything to tell, the podcast world, what is Macyn Stars to you?
I guess that's like a loaded question. Like what
Why?
exactly are you asking?
Tell me in 30 seconds or less, what is Macyn Stars? We'll start there.
Macyn Shares is a nonprofit that provides fidget toys for uh, people with intellectual disabilities or children or anybody else that's in a hospital to brighten up their day.
Brighten up their day. And what is it to you, though?
I mean, I was able to see the direct impact when my friend went to the hospital.
Yeah.
She
You've been
still
given a
carries,
Mason jar.
She still carries it around
I
with
think
her.
that's pretty common, actually.
And I think it's like so easy to think that it's just for like kids, but like she's 18. And that was something that like it helps her even now when like worrying for a test or like it's so easy to overlook like what 5 digits could do for somebody.
But it's a
Even
silver
outside of the
lining.
hospital. Yeah.
The silver lining. All right. I'm for real wrapping it up now. Thank you for being on the podcast, Kyla.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Soon you'll go back to school.
Yep.
It'll be spring. You'll be in your second semester.
Hopefully no more snow.
There's going to be more snow.
No.
It is only December. It's going to happen.
It feels like spring.
All right. Northern Illinois, kid. It's going to happen. Thanks for giving up your time.
For sure.
Thank you for letting me spring this on you.
Yep.
Your sister, Kellen, thanks you as well.
Hopefully she gets better soon.
She will get better soon. She'll be back.
Otherwise,
You'll do it again.
Who's going to be next?
We'll do Kyla part 2.
How about Shorty part 1?
Shorty part 1. That could be fun. We'll have to do another recap with you once you graduate.
That's the only time I've ever invited back is when I graduate.
You're busy. Yeah, you're not coming back until then. You're
Gotcha.
out. I'm glad we did it. It's good to talk to just you. It's pretty rare. I mean, you live in my house. I guess I'll talk to you. Thanks for coming on, guy.
Yep.
Later.
Bye.
Bye.